Hi, I'm Bruce Sistina with SEASOFT Scuba, and for a long time I've been wanting to create a video about measuring a diver for a dry suit. And getting it right, measuring correctly for a dry suit can be the difference between a dry suit that fits and one that's too loose, or a dry suit that's just hanging off you. And you know, a dry suit that fits right is a happy diver. So today I'm going to show you how to measure someone correctly for a dry suit, and I'm going to give you a few tips on just making sure that you do it right, and that if you're a store owner, here's some things that are going to make it a lot easier for you to make sure that you keep your customers happy. So today I've got Laurel, we're going to be measuring for a dry suit, and we're going to show you how to do it right so that we make a dry suit that fits Laurel just great. So the first measurement, and we got this memorized, I've done it a few times, is we're going to measure her neck. Now, one of the things we want to do when we measure the neck is you want to get the neck at the right place. So one of the things I do is I want them to have the neck being the way they dive. So what I'll tell them to do is, Laurel, I want you to look up about right there, like you're watching an airplane coming the distance. And what I want to do is, okay, if I pull your hair back. So I want to reach back like this and have her still look up right there. And I like to measure the neck a couple of times, and I want to do it about right in the middle. And this measurement, I want to be exact within about 1/4 of an inch. So when I measure it right there, I've got exactly 14.5. Now typically I tell you to measure it twice. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't need to, because I got experience. But right there in exactly the middle, it's 14.5 inches. So I'm going to have the guy that's measuring here for me write down, this is Darren's going to write down 14.5 inches. Now here's one of the things. I'm measuring a woman today. If you're a dive store owner, I always suggest that if you're gonna measure a woman for a suit, that you have someone else in the store with you. And just to be safe, just have someone else with you. And you also want to ask to get permission to you're gonna be, it's a hands-on thing, and you want to get permission before you start laying hands on a woman. You want to get permission to do that. So I'm always really careful that I don't just start grabbing and poking and doing all kinds of stuff. So I get permission to just be respectful. I guess that's the key, is be respectful. But having someone else in the store, I think, is really important. It's just common sense these days. So next thing I know is going to be her wrist. So sometimes you want to measure both, especially if it's a blue collar worker type person. So I'm going to measure right there, as you can see, I'm going to measure right there at that part of the wrist. And when I do, I can see that it's 6 1/4. Sometimes I'm going to measure both of them if I see that there just might be a difference. I don't think there's going to be here. No, both 6 1/4. And what's the next one?
From shoulder to floor.
Okay, from shoulder to floor. So it's okay if I measure, if I put my hands on your shoulder here? Now, here's one where people sometimes go crazy, is I'm going from shoulder to where?
Floor.
Okay, I'm going from the shoulder to the floor. Now what I do, I want to go halfway up from the shoulder to the top of the neck. So I'm going to start right here. Now, a lot of people are going to go straight down like this. That's not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to go the shortest distance, which is from right here. And I want to go, so I want you to just bring your hand across right here and just hold that right there. And don't look down. If they look down, sometimes you get people looking down like this, and it shortens the distance. Lean forward. So if she leans forward, you see the difference that makes, right? So lean back. So stand straight up. And I'm going to go down to the floor and measure, and that's exactly 60 inches. So Now, the next one is,
From shoulder to crotch.
so shoulder to crotch, so I'm gonna need this clipboard from you. So go ahead and take the paper. Now, I need to have something because I need to measure the top of the crotch so I have a place to measure from. So I'd like you to take that and put it between your legs and pull it up as high as you can so we have a place to measure from. So again, hold that for me right there. And you notice I'm going down the same way I did before. And when I do it from the side, I've got 29.5 inches. So don't just leave that right there, stand up straight.
From crotch to floor.
So I'm gonna come over here from the side, and I'm gonna, if you could just move your hand there. And I've got 32 inches. Now,
From knee to floor.
dive store owners just for a second. Here's the key thing. If I take those two measurements, 32 and 29.5, I get 61.5 inches, correct? Okay. Well, my measurements of both of them together was 60 inches, right? So I got 1.5 inches difference. Well, I'm okay with that. A little bit of it different, I'm off by a little bit. But I get divers where I'll get 60 inches and then I'll get 34 and, 34 and 32, and it'll be 66 inches. Well, that's 10% off. If I'm only 2 or 3% off, I'm okay with that. But if I'm getting 5 to 10% or more, then I know there's something wrong because it shouldn't be that much. So you want to make sure that there's only 1 or 2 inches off of those two added together compared to that one whole measurement you have. Does that make sense? I think it does. What's next?
From knee to floor.
So from knee to floor, so I want to find the middle. We're done with that. So I want to find the middle of her knee, right there, straight to the floor, 20 inches. Okay?
Chest, widest point.
Okay, well, you're dealing with a woman and you're doing chest. That's a big one because obviously there's a place you're not going to go. So I'm going to hand this to her, and would you take that across? I need you to loop it all the way around and hand it to me. And I want you to put that over the widest part, right? And then I'm going to take it back here. And I'm not involved in anything, as you can see. Now, that's 36 inches. Now, if we just made that suit exactly 36 inches around, there'd be no room for undergarment. There'd be no room for expansion. There'd be no room to breathe. So we have to take into account when we measure it, we don't actually want to make it exactly 36 inches on the inside of that suit. We want there to be a little bit of room. So what we do is we add 2 or 3%. Well, if I take 2% of 36 inches, well, 1% of 36 inches would be what? That'd be 0.36 inches. So I'd add 2% would be, and here comes a train. By the way, we have train tracks right by our place, so here's a train coming. That would be about 3/4 of an inch. So I'll add an inch to that. So we're gonna make that 37 inches. That gives us a little bit of room so that there's some room for something underneath it. If I think it's someone that's gonna be, now she's younger and athletic, I don't think she's gonna gain weight. If I see it's a middle-aged to older person that I know that they're gonna gain weight, I might add 2 inches or even more if I think they're gonna be gaining weight over the, let's say it's 50 inches, I might add 2 or 3 inches to the roundness of that dry suit. Okay, what's next?
Next one is wrist, widest point.
The width,
The wrist,
no, waist.
or waist.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna hand that to you. If you'll take that around your waist, hand it back to me. And we want it the widest point.
Yep,
Okay, now, she's obviously not a big person, a big girth, and I've handed you the wrong end of this because you're not 130 inches. So, we'll go here. And this says that it says 36 over the widest part. Now, the skinniest part's going to be up here, and that's going to be 32. So when we're making that suit, we want to know where the thinnest part is and where the widest part is. Right? Now we want hips, right?
hips, widest point.
Okay, so I want you to take that, hand it back to me, and if you will take that down, and you want to go down below here, and I will help. And again, I don't get, I minimum contact, that is 43 and a half, but I'm gonna add 2 inches for that because of the amount of movement and I want air to move. So that's 43, we're gonna make it 45. Okay, got that? Okay, next is,
Upper thigh, measured to crotch.
and that is, what does it say?
Upper thigh, measure at crotch.
Okay, so take this, and I'm gonna ask her to put it between her legs and hand it back to me, or if you would actually grab it yourself. And we're gonna measure that right there, and that's 25, but I'm gonna add an inch to that. Again, we want air to be able to move from the upper to lower body, and that's 25, we're gonna make that 26 and a half inches. Okay, next measurement.
Mid thigh, 3 inches below.
So I want you to move that down 3 inches for me if you would. And that is 22 inches, and we're gonna make that 23 and a half.
Next one is the calf.
Okay. In the calf, we measure obviously at the widest part. And that is 14. And for the calf, you really want to get room for the calf because one of the reasons for that is when you kneel down, that calf muscle is going to get big and you want to make sure you don't lock air out. So even though it's 14, I'll add at least 1.5 inches to that. So 14, 15, 15 and a half inches for the calf. Okay.
Next is shoulder to shoulder.
Okay, so let's turn around here. Now this is a tricky one for people because I get crazy measurements for this. Here's shoulder to shoulder. There is where the shoulder bends. Right there. Right? Shoulder to shoulder does not mean that. It doesn't mean this. It means straight across, shoulder to shoulder. I'm holding this right on that point and right on that point. And when I measure that, that is 19 inches. Right on that very square of the shoulder, across to the square of the shoulder. Okay?
Next one is shoulder joint to wrist joint.
So when we measure these, We want the arms straight out. So I'm measuring from that joint right there to wrist joint.
Yep.
So again to right there, and that is 20 inches. I don't add any extra to these measurements. Okay,
Armpit to wrist.
arm out. Hands okay, bud. Okay. So I move right into there, and that is 21 inches. Next.
Center of back to wrist.
This measurement is really important. Really important, because this measurement has to do with the length of the sleeves, and we want to get this right. So there's the center of her back. I set it right in there, and to her wrist, and you can see it right there, 27 inches. Okay,
Next one is forearm.
forearm. This isn't really important, and I'm not even sure why we have this in here, but it just gives us the way to double check certain things, especially for bigger guys. For her, it's not that relevant. That's 10 inches.
That's it.
Okay? For her, we want to measure her brain. So we're going to go, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for your help. So that's measuring for a dry suit. If you have any questions, you can email me at bruce@seasoftscuba.com. And if you ever or have something specific, just let me know. You can always email me because I'm willing to help you with anything. So thanks for watching, and thank you for your support. Have a good day.